Hi, everybody. Welcome, everybody. My name is Joseph. I will be your moderator in this session today. Let me introduce to you our speaker. His name is Roman, working as a QA engineer since 2012. He has experiences in completely different business domains such as healthcare, e-commerce, payment solutions, and many other multi-platform applications such as web, mobile, desktop, hardware, or even cloud. He's starting to be a consultant, independent QA consultant in 2019. He's mainly focusing on exploratory testing approaches, test analysis, and automation of web and mobile applications. I hope you will enjoy this session, and I will pass the words to Roman. Enjoy.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Hello, hi everybody. So today I'm going to tell you like my experience on exploratory testing. So I've been working since 2012, as Joseph already said. I have tested more than 25 different projects in different domains, and last 5 years I'm working with exploratory testing and trying to implement exploratory testing from scratch on each project which I working on. So right now I will share my presentation. Give me 1 second just to load it. So probably exploratory testing reload. It's something about maybe you heard about exploratory testing, and you could know something new about exploratory testing from my perspective. Okay, about me, again, among them all I said, I have a QA blog. It's like community with different news feeds on testing field, so you could find in Facebook it and to study some new knowledge from the Ukraine QA community. In Ukraine we gather different meetups and speak in English, different useful topics from our sphere. And from the March I just started a YouTube channel, and here you can find different videos with different testers. So I have like an interview with different people, and it will be very interesting for people to know about different like testing experience from different people. Okay, and today we are going to cover several main questions. Main questions, it's like, can we completely replace scripting with exploratory testing? As you know, scripting testing is like going through step by step and checking some expected results after each test case. So, and in exploratory testing, you doing completely different things. You are going just in parallel learning execution and creating some design in your mind and look into behavior of the system and trying to change test cases according to your system behavior. So it's another like part of testing, and today with different approach I will show you how you could implement this testing on your projects. So no, you can't completely change like scripting testing with exploratory, but it will be played together very good if you will use scripting testing from one side and exploratory testing. How to make exploratory testing process transparent to your customers. So many people think that exploratory testing is like some chaotic process and you just doing some strange actions without any goal, but it's not like that. So in exploratory testing we have different approaches. One of them is session-based testing. It uses charters. It's like some instrument, some tool which helps people to organize testing. Like you have their different points. I will show you later how it works. And of course you have test summary reports, so you could present for your customers or even project managers what is the result of your testing activities. So it's not like a chaotic process, and it's very transparent, and you could like show different metrics for your project managers and customers using this technique. How to avoid duplication in testers' work during exploratory testing. As you can know from scripting testing, you have like different test plans or test cases, and people going through exact steps and execute them every time. But in exploratory testing, you are doing every time something new, and every people has their own experience on testing and different approaches they're using during testing process. And so if you even test the same feature, you could change your approaches to test it, and you will not have the same results if even you test same feature. So you could easily avoid duplication during exploratory testing, and in future slides I will show you how. What is this testing approach, exploratory testing? So as I said before, learning, design, and execution in parallel. So you just need to study your project which you are working with, to read documentation if you have, to see maybe some competitive products and to gather some info. In the same time, you just in your mind create some test cases which you will be executing during like next part of this one completely parallel process. And again, you should start testing exactly after you think about something. So, and test cases every time is live, so you just need to update test cases according to behavior of the system. You don't need to create some test cases as we do on scripting testing, and after 2 weeks in the end of like the second or third week of sprint, you just start testing and even can forget about something you was written before. So here you just make test cases and can update it during the process. Different test design techniques could be used during this exploratory testing activity. So exploratory testing says that you can use all test design techniques, all tools which you know, all your knowledges, for example, SQL, database testing, automation. Even if you want to cover some your exploratory testing cases, you could use automation. So it's include different your knowledges and experience in one place. Session-based testing is like strict session, 1 hour, 2 hour, or even half an hour. You could do it through this period of times and to just set the goal what you want to cover during this session. So, and exploratory testing does not use scripts. So as I said before, we just using this more creativity from yourself and create different cases in your mind. And you just see on behavior of the system and trying to understand how feature is working, and from different sides just to execute your like cases which you have in your mind. Let's look at this slide and to define what is not exploratory testing. So it's not Turing only. Some people think that it's only tours of exploratory testing. So we have different people, Whitaker, Elizabeth Hendrickson, James Bach, which using tours in their testing, but it's just only for visualizing your like activities with different pictures. I will show you later how we can use this too, but it's not only that. Exploratory testing is not after everything else is done. So many people use exploratory testing only when they have some time at the end of all testing activities, but it shouldn't be used like that, because it could be used from the scratch of project on the starting of SDLS cycle. Exploratory testing is not a manual testing only, so we could use also automation, as I said, and different tools which could help you during exploratory testing sessions. Exploratory testing is not a quick checks, and exploratory testing is not documented process. So later I will show you how we can document exploratory testing. And example of learning one of the main stage of exploratory testing, you should learn some documentation or design if you have something. Or if you haven't these requirements, you could look into similar products and gather some info from there. You could ask different questions from developers and BSA and product owners, whatever, who knows something more about this project. And of course, you could do team researches. It's like good techniques like brainstorming. You can gather in the team and to brainstorm according to your projects and to find some new requirements or even to cover some more cases during these brainstorming sessions. So session-based testing is the first approach which I want to show you. So we have charter. It's like a document which includes testing work. So we post the different goals. I will show you later. Time, like predefined continuous test scenarios. Could be recommended 60 minutes, 90, or 120. So report includes notes and short report with bugs and time spent on testing activities. And debrief is the last part of session-based testing, when you have short meetings with your project manager or QA lead to discuss what you have after each session. This is an example of charter. Here you should put goal of your testing, for example, analyze of excuse me, analyze ordering and notification of Amazon web shop. So you should provide here areas which you want to cover. For example, I put here several areas which I wanted to test. It's like ordering of book in Kindle format, payment with valid credit card, payment with expired credit card, and notification on email with ordered format. So the main fields here is like test environment URL. You should provide the environment. For example, it could be QA or development or even demo. Start time, so you should put here date and even time, because if you put here time, for example, 12 o'clock of the 27th of October, so you will exactly know at what time you execute this session, because sometimes some happens when you have deployment after your session, and after deployment all this session is invalid because some features could be corrupted. And it's very important to leave here time with exact minutes and hours. Tester who doing these activities duration, as I said, it could be even 30 minutes, and better to use 60, because it's like exploration. You should spend more time to explore some features and to write different cases. Testing notes is something like history which you are doing, what you are doing. For example, I go to the main page of the site, open some login form, enter some valid data, and look into behavior. I see some that my user registered, for example, and then I want to check that I will see some profile picture when I log in. If I log in with invalid credential, I will see I expect to see some messages, validation messages, which help me to understand what's going on. So it's a common things which we are doing through exploratory testing session, and we write this like a history. So these notes will help us to show some info about what we have tested during all the sessions when we will have some debriefing with our manager. So after you find after you find some bugs, you could link here some screenshot and video recording, or even logs from some console or other stuff. And bugs, you could just put here only a summary of your bug, And after this session, you could raise it on some Jira or a management system where you track all your bugs and provide more info about them, all steps. But during session, don't spend more than 1 minute to find root cause of bug. If you need some more time, just left this for another session, and during another session you could investigate what is the root cause of some bug. And time on design and execution is very important like field. You could provide here time on analysis of some feature, on design and execution, even 3 parameters, and it will help better to separate the work which you spent on execution and which time you spent on design. The next approach is pair-based exploratory testing. It's very good approach. We have 2 different traditional pair testing and strong style pairing. In traditional pairing, we have 2 persons. First one is operator, and another one is observer. For example, if I don't know project good and I want to start testing as operator, so I'm a people who will be doing some action on some website or mobile application, and observer will be some person who knows more about some part of features, and this person will stay behind me and look into my screen and write down on make some notes. For example, if this person understands something from another point of view and didn't do some cases which this operator do during the session, after the session they could discuss this like steps which was during the session, and observer could gain some new experience from operator, and even you could just put again the people who know more about project as operator, and observer is newbie who will ask some question, for example, what are you doing, and this question can help to find some new bugs, because questions always could give us more info and maybe to find some new bugs. Another is like strong style pairing, where you have operator and navigator. So in this case, we have operator, it's like a people newbie, and navigator is people who knows and understand the feature well, and navigator will tell you what to do, and you as operator can some time say that, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to, I want to do this in another way, and navigator will see that you have another view on this, and on this communication you also could find some new bugs. What you should do to start pairing testing? So at first you need to come up with a couple of test ideas. So when you go to somebody, you need to be prepared. You need to choose one part of the product you know well, or a part of the product you don't know well. So it depends what role you want to choose. Some technical work you don't understand as well. So, for example, if even you want to start writing some unit tests or automation, if you don't know this field, you just need to find special people for them, and just start doing pairing testing and to gain more knowledge from that people. Find people to do the pairing with. So you could find people who understand some part of functionality and don't know as well. So as I showed you on previous slide, it depends on role which you want to choose. You could put people who doesn't know anything about the feature and to be an operator, or people will do actions like an observer and to ask you some question. Someone you would enjoy working with. So for example, we always have on our project some people which not which don't speak with anybody. They like doing well their job and creating a lot of different bugs, but they never share their experience. So in this case, you could take these people in pair and to gain some new knowledge from them. And it's very cool if you have such a pair, and it will be interesting to understand the approaches which another people are working with. And approach people, you need to come prepared and figure out the details, so to tell what you are going to do. And just do it, and after all of sessions, you just need to do a retrospective to gain some like points which was bad and what was good, and just every time when you in the future will came to pair testing again, you just will improve your pair session from previous like your session. And benefit of pair testing, it helps a tester to focus on the task at hand, and it creates some trust between people. So when you works in pair, you like could be more friendly with your opponent, and in future when you will have another sessions, you will have more trust to that people which you worked with. And if you will need to test something like very important, you could give some part of your job to people which you already know and worked with. Brainstorming between pair testers usually lead to more constructive ideas. You could bring some new ideas during the session and learn something new from other people, and avoid tunnel vision. So when you test by yourself, you just have your own experience and view on project, and when you work in pairs, you avoid tunnel vision. You see the project, how it's tested from another side, from how another people work with it. And there is a lesser chance of other interrupting like you. When you work with somebody in pair, it's less chance that somebody came and will ask you to go to smoke or to have some lunch. Persona-based testing, it's another approach. So it's a good approach for gathering some info about the project. So we need to firstly identify multiple persons who will be using your product. Describe them. It's some info about age, jobs, accessibility, or even geolocation. It could influence on people how they will use your system. And create persona profiles. Here, example of different persona-based profiles. So we have some application. It's like Lego game, and different people use this application in different ways. So here we have boy 7-year-old Andrew, and he like uses this application only just for playing with his friend, and he hasn't access to email address. Just only people could, his parents could take access from there, and if this game have some notification on email, he will not see them. So probably we could gather from this profile some info which we need to add for such small like people who play with your game, and maybe provide them some info not on email but on maybe in game in a view of some pictures, because it could be possible they can read well in this age. So another person is like Marina, 14 years old girl. So she uses Windows 10 desktop. It's we gather some info from our end users, and it's very important to understand what people are using, which systems. She uses a Lego game on some architecture classes. So she like building some designs and uses game to make some designs of interior in their classroom. And we gain from this story that she show results to their teacher, and we need to add some more functionality so the teacher can teacher could comment her work, and it will give us more possibility to work with application and better to communicate between people. So, and the last person is like 45 years old. It's like George. He has experience, not many experience with technologies, and he has problem with vision. And we gain from here that we could make something like voice helper to this application to help him understand what he needs to do during this game. And he had these problems with hearing and or not hearing, like watching something. And from this perspective, we need to add some usabilities like accessibility features, which will help people to play with your system, with your game. So another approach is like risk-based testing. We need to identify risk on early stages. Boundary value analysis, equivalent classes will help you to understand which values could be positive and negative in our testing. State transition testing also will help a lot with investigation of project and analyzing of it. And you could mitigate some risks, find some problems on early stages. You could learn some your bugs and to understand how different developers made them, and in future to pay more attention on that kind of bugs to prevent the same bug in new releases. And expect some problems, be ready to quickly respond to issue and to tell developers what's wrong there. So as I showed that we could use state and transition testing. So another approach is state transition testing. So we separate it on two parts. So first is like state transition diagrams. For example, if you have some problems with different states, you could provide a visualize your transactions between the states in the view of this diagram. So you have here states, arrows is like transition between states, and in the right corner you could see a different action. So we could create task, change status, edit task, or remove task. So you provide the first diagram with everything you know about that product, and then you go further and use another state transition table. So here we are analyzing of actions from different states. First table, you just need to write down all states which you have and all actions, and then in another table you just need to take only one state and to check it with all possible actions, and with other state also check with all actions. So it will show you everything which your system could work. For example, each row analyze different things, and it will be something like exhaustive testing. And if you will do this through this table, you will not miss something important, or you even can create or even find some new status. For example, here we have a new status, and if we remove task, we will have some no task, and task will be deleted. Or even from some rows, you could understand that ticket, our task, could be closed. So we will gain some new statuses after analyzing with the help of this table. In the result, we see different expected results. So, for example, status changed if we change to in progress, it changes to in progress, and message received on the mail. So we need to check that email was received with status changing, and also status was changed on your application. Another table is analysis of transition between states. So you just need to write down all states like old states and new states, and to ask how to get it. So what do you need to do to make this transition between states. So it's another table which show you which action you need to do to get changing from one state to another. So for example, you could see here that in status new you could update our task, and here is a lot of different actions. So you could change reporter, change assignee, change content, change priority, or even change command. So it all different actions, but statuses doesn't change it, and we need to check all the statuses, because on some of changes we could have some problems with system. So it will help you to investigate your product more with help of state transition tables and diagrams. So after you use tables, you can see here that we have one more status closed, and more arrows is like more different transition between these states. So because we have a lot more actions between the states after analyzing, and this technique will help you to gain more like actions and state in your system. And even sometime I found some states which are not using in our system, and we with architects and developers could remove some features from our system because they are not very useful for end user. Okay, another approach is mind mapping. So we could use mind mapping for visualize our knowledge about the system. It will help us to create some hierarchy of our system. For example, I taken the Jira. It has issues, projects, and users. So if we go deeper, so issues has like different story, tasks, bugs, and improvements. If we go again deeper, so bug could be created, edited, assigned, commented, attached some files, or some other actions. And when you create, you need to put here project, summary, priority, assignee, reporter. So, and if you can see here arrows, you could understand that we have some dependencies between the features. So when we create bug, we use projects, and this arrow shows that we have dependencies with project. And when you check this testing during your, for example, regression, you should pay attention that when something was changing in project, you should include in your regression like creating of bugs, because it uses project inside of creation of that bugs. So another technique is feature dependence table. So before we have visualization in some picture like mind map, and here we have all features right down in the rows and in the columns, and all these colors shows that when we analyze do this feature depend from each other, we put some color here. So it will help us in future to not miss some bugs in our regression, because when we put each colors between features, you will understand that registration, for example, depends from login, or some application mobile depends from application web. If you could play game in both, for example, versions, it could be dependent. So all these tables and mind mapping will help you to cover your strategy for regression testing. It's very powerful technique, this feature dependence table, and from here you could understand what feature depends from other. Another is like exploratory testing tools. So here I put some different tools, exploratory testing tools, the money tool. So it means that you just need to take from your system only main points, some business like values. For example, if you have some e-commerce shop, the main things you just need to order some product from here, and you just need to pay attention for payments on the system. So, from this tool, we just take only the main parts from the system and check only them. All-nighter tours, so some bugs only happen if the software has been running for a long time. So sometimes happens when the program is opening too long, you receive some different bugs. So your application could be freezed, or even session could be expired. So this tool will help you to find all these problems. So there is a lot of other tools, and you could even prepare your own tool. For example, if you want to cover some functionality, for example, you have some activities which you doing every day. For example, you are going to walk with your pets, and with the pets you like stay on some bench, and then you go to some tree, and all these objects will be like a trigger during your testing, and you could put all these triggers on your system, and when you're doing your testing, you just could visualize your testing with the help of these tools. So you could find info in like references which I provide in the last slide. So and read more about exploratory testing tool. And the last approach is the six thinking hats. So it's Edward de Bono technique. We could use different persons like managerial person who like will define what is the goal of testing, what is the subject, why are we here, and to define what is the main reason why do we use this system. Or another hat like white, informational white, the people need to gather all info and facts about how to use this system, and only to work with that. Emotional red is like emotional hat, and you just need to look into the system like from emotional side. How do you feel about this project? What does your gut say? If it's good for you, or you just don't like something. So it's another side of view on testing. And discerning black, where are the danger? For example, is it the secure project? Do we have everything like on their place? For example, if some hacker want to steal your data, is that encrypted or something like that? So this hat will help you to cover all that cases. Optimistic yellow is like we always found some new opportunities. What are the benefits of using of your system? Maybe when we wear this hat, we could create some new benefits on our system. Maybe create some gamification points, and to provide for our users some extra bonuses for some action. So it hat will give you more creative and optimistic behavior features. And the last one is creative green. We can make this better. We can incorporate new ideas. So you should always passion about how to make your product better, to find some new features from different another projects, or even to communicate with different people and to gain from them different good ideas. And it will help you to cover a product with more ideas, and maybe to extend your requirements. And the last thing is about reporting in Explorer. What we need to have in this report. So the first one is the number of sessions completed and remaining. You will have this like how many sessions you already completed, and how many sessions you have in remaining during one sprint or two. The number of bugs reported. So here we put the number of bugs which you found, and even priority, critical bugs, like some minor, major bugs, and it will help us to bring a result, how many blockers you found during the session according to scripted testing, and it will help us to understand do this exploratory testing brings a lot of results or not, and how it influence on general like testing at all. Time spent on session, so we put here all time we spent on session. As I shown you before, we have different like time values. It's like time for execution and time for test design. So if you separate it here in report, it will be better to your product manager to see how many time you spent on execution, how many time you spent on analyzing and test design, and number of features covered. So you just will have some table of features which already covered. It could be possible to use traceability matrix to cover all like requirement with all features, and it will show you how many features is already covered and which features need more test cases to be covered. And a few things to keep in mind when doing the exploratory testing. First, your mission should be defined, so you don't need to do some chaotic actions. You should define according to charter to put some goals and areas to test, and to go through these defined states. Be sure to make notes of what you are checking, because it's very important. If you haven't any notes, manager will ask you what did you do, and if you haven't notes, you will say I did some actions. But managers always don't believe their like people if they will not see any like results on the paper. So notes will help you cover it as always. And learn, observe, and then come up with new test cases is the main rule. So you just need to learn everything in your system, observe, and come up with new ideas, update your test cases, and work according to everything you have in your mind. So that's all from my speech, and if you have some questions, please let's start asking.
Hello. Actually, we have questions right now. I can read them and then you can answer on them, Roman. So, okay. First question. Do you use exploratory testing for fixed price projects, and how it will be estimated in this case on discovery phase, or prefer in this case use and sell scripted approach?
So if you have a fixed price, it means that probably you will pay for some hours of testing. Yeah. So in exploratory testing, you also could estimate like how many hours you will spend on some testing, and with the help of that charters which we have, and we could also estimate and to make some plan how many time we need for testing some features. So and again, the other thing could help us during this exploratory testing. We could make some decomposition of the project and to put the smallest part and estimate it's right, and covers all this during exploratory testing. It's also like the same approach for estimation, because you have your experience from previous projects. How did you do like exploratory of some features, and you should know how many time you spent on that or that feature testing. For example, if it's UI, you spend some 20 hours. Is it this some functional features you need to cover? You spend 80 hours. Or from this perspective, it's could be used also even in fixed projects.
Thank you for your answer. Roman, can you please check your microphone, because we are just hearing some scratchy noise sometimes when you are talking. But meanwhile, I'm starting to read the next question from Petro Radchenko. Hope I'm pronounced the name correctly. So, greetings, Roman. I hope you have nice vacation. My questions are: is exploratory testing a type of ad hoc testing? When is it best to use one or another? You said exploratory testing could be automated, if I understood right. How can this be automated fully or particularly?
Okay, thank you for just wishing me good vacation. So, okay, from first point, we just need to separate like ad hoc. It's like testing without any like strict goals what you are going to test, and it's quite another thing from exploratory testing, because in exploratory testing we define different goals and areas which we want to cover, and it is not so chaotic as we have in ad hoc testing. About automation, we could cover all your cases which you worked during exploratory testing session, and to cover it with automation. And also it's good practice to automate also all bugs which you found during exploratory testing. And you don't need to cover everything as we have like usual automation, each like use case, each test case. So you just need to cover only that thing which you think that could be more risky. Or even, as I said, we cover all bugs, and it's because these bugs could be again could happen during some regression testing. So it will cover with the help of automation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question is an anonymous question, but let's see. If we have to execute exploratory testing on a quite complex project, but they don't have any documentation, or the project's documentation is not clear, in your opinion, what is your approach for this case? If you found some issues, how can you sure that they are defects or bugs?
Okay, so at first, exploratory testing will give you like three different phases. It's like analysis, researching of information. So if you haven't any requirements, you could ask at least some people who know something about this project, because without these people, projects couldn't be started at all. So my recommendation to find direct people who have some info about the project. Another is to find a similar project to you and try to work with real project and to get some info how the similar project works, and to write down all info on some letter and analyze it. I know exactly that it will help you to understand better how will your project be work after it will be released, or even during completion of some features. What was the last one? Everything like will help you. And another stuff, you just could make some brainstorming session, as I shown on some of slide, and to brainstorm more ideas how to work with your project. And according to bugs, probably when you will investigate more your product and will investigate another project, you will understand what is this, bug or not. So it will help you to gain more experience from different projects, or to gain more knowledge from your like customers or product owners or people who know something about this product. And of course, you should communicate with developers and business analysts in your team, and to come up with only one like right decision how the feature should work. And only after that, you will know that feature is buggy or not.
Thank you for the detailed answer. Next question is from Olena. Is exploratory testing only for experienced enough testers, or it could be done by QC with lack of experience? how it could be adapted per such situation?
Probably my suggestions use only exploratory testing for experienced tester, because it based on experience of people. So you could test different projects only when you have some experience from previous one, and you have some your own approaches, and it will brings more result from that kind of people. So that is the answer when I like ask could be like fully covered scripted testing replaced with exploratory. So in that case, it's recommended better to give for juniors scripted testing, and they will execute only like steps and another part of job to use with exploratory testers. And only one thing I want to add, according to pair testing. Pair testing, you could take like juniors in your pair, and this approach will help people to understand better project and to teach something from a more experienced tester. In this approach, you could use like junior testers in pair, and it will bring a lot of results in your like testing. So it's the answer.
Thank you very much. We have about 5 minutes left, and we have 2 questions right now. So I'm just going to the first one. Do you use scripted testing if you are working on the same project and functionality for a long time?
Yes, of course. As I said, I used both scripted and exploratory testing. But in scripted, I use always only checklists. It easier for me, and I could cover everything with them. And another things I use is like mind mapping. It helps me to cover functionality and to show all structure and hierarchy of project. And also you could use this mind map as a like test cases. So just you look into the map and to cover like feature by feature. Also a feature dependence table, which I show, it also helps you to define which feature is depends from each other, and to use some checklists, and in parallel to spend some time with exploratory testing. It's good to use this both scripted and exploratory testing mixed together.
Thank you for the answer. 2 remaining questions. We have a new one. So, how much exploratory testing we can do in Agile, as we have less time in sprint, and when to stop exploratory testing?
So always people say that exploratory testing we spend less time on testing with this approach. So because we don't use this first scripting, like to write all test cases to spend all time on this, we just doing testing. Like we just start from exploration and investigation and testing. So in Agile, I think it's the best choice of exploratory testing to use it. But I recommend to put only 1 or 2 person. It depends on project. If it's a big project, you could take, for example, 20% of people on exploratory testing, and they will always use it, and another on scripted. So in this way, people will use exploratory testing and will found some blockers, criticals with the help of these techniques, because it's could cover out of scope cases which is not not defined in requirements, something like that. So I recommend to use that and that like types of testing, scripted and exploratory, and it's not matter which is a project, big or small. And when to stop exploratory testing, so probably when you feel that your system is working fine, and we always test with your mind. So you just create test cases according to what you feel this system should expect. And if your all expectation covered, I think you could stop your testing and say that it's pretty good quality of product.
Thank you. And the last question for today: what is the best balance between scripted and exploratory testing in percents?
So probably I answered on this question like in the team, 20% on exploratory and 80% on scripted, but probably as I work, probably I have even 30% on scripting testing, and all my time, 70% I spend on exploratory testing. And in via scripted testing, I even automate all my cases to not repeat them manually again. Just spend all my time on exploratory, and automation cover all my needs to execute every time my scripted testing. So something like that. Okay, here is the reading materials which you could use and to find some new info for yourself, and my advertisement to my next exploratory testing workshop. If you want to join here in Ukraine, will be online on July 25. If somebody want to join, just go through the link from the slide and register here.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for your answers on the questions. Also, thank you everybody for joining this session, and thank you for the good questions on it, and hope you enjoyed it. See you next time on the next session, and thank you again, Roman. It was really good to see.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.